Do you have a hard time learning in lecture classes? Are you easily bored? Would you rather work with others than work independently? If yes, then you just might be a kinesthetic learner, in which case this video is just for you. Hi, I'm Katie Azevedo from SchoolHabits.com. I'm a private executive function coach and I teach students and professionals strategies to learn and work better. Please consider liking and subscribing. That makes a world of difference. And for more tips and tricks for school and productivity, then you can find me on Instagram. All right, let's get started. Now, if you are watching this video, you are probably trying to determine your learning style. And there are three primary learning styles: auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. Now, some may argue that there's a fourth type, a read-write learner type, but honestly, I think that these three primary learning styles are enough to cover the majority of us. And I've covered all of these learning styles in a variety of blogs and video tutorials on SchoolHabits.com, and I will leave links to all of that in the description box. Now, some people call them learning styles or learning preferences, but I don't think semantics matters here. The bottom line is some of us really do better learn information when it's presented a certain way. Some of us prefer to see it, hear it, or do it. And it's also possible that you could be a combination of learner types, in which case that's an advantage because you will succeed more in a variety of learning environments. Now, this video is all about kinesthetic learners, how to determine if you are one. And then once you do that, what are the unique study methods that you should be using based on this unique learning style? Let's begin with some common characteristics of a kinesthetic learner. And keep in mind, you don't have to check all of the boxes here. Now, kinesthetic learners like to move around when they're studying, often struggle in audio-based learning environments like lecture classes, do well in lab environments like the sciences, prefer to work with others instead of independently, would prefer to make posters or do a project, anything other than sit down and take a written test, are easily bored, remember information better if they do it versus if they read it, can be impulsive like blurting out answers or getting up quickly, they enjoy trying new things, new routines, tend to take risks, are not a fan of reading instructions and would rather just do it themselves, and require frequent breaks during non-preferred activities. Now, if at this point in the video you are starting to identify as a kinesthetic learner, then pay close attention to this next part. Now, unfortunately, kinesthetic learners tend to do better in elementary school because as we move out of elementary school, learning environments become more lecture-based and less hands-on. And we can't change the way that a teacher presents the material to us. So essentially, what we need to do is get control of the way we present the material to ourselves when we are studying. Now, listen, I know how weird that sounds. I know how weird that sounds to be like, present the material to yourself a certain way. I get it, but you've got to follow me here. We have to be deliberate with how we study the material so that our brain can actually learn it. Not all study methods work for all people. Sure, there are definitely some study techniques that work just across the board. So things like spaced repetition and active recall, you should know those. But in this video, right now, I'm going to give you 8 study methods that work really well for kinesthetic learners. And here they are. Number 1, use your hands when studying. This could mean you make and use flashcards. Now, when I say make and use flashcards, I mean like analog style, not Quizlet. Quizlet's good for reviewing, not for learning. I feel like we've gone over this, okay? Also, make sure that you are not using a set of flashcards that someone has created for you. I know that's convenient, but you need to engage with the material. And I also know that sounds so teacherly, and I'm so sorry for using words like that. Okay, but you need to do something with the material in order for you to better understand it. And if you just conveniently get someone else's set of flashcards, you're completely bypassing the part of this study method that involves the doing. No shortcuts here, make your own flashcards. You could also use a whiteboard to write out concepts and make connections. If you're dealing with studying information that's chronological, like a history class or something, you could put events on index cards, lay them out on a big table in front of you, and test yourself on arranging the events in chronological order. You can go forwards, you can go backwards, you can group events together. Just present the material. Study the material in a way that enables you to do something with it, not just think about it and not just read it. Study method number 2 is to combine studying with low-key movement. So that means you could walk around your house or outside to listen to an audiobook. If you have to read a textbook, download a text reader app. Put your iPad on a treadmill and walk slowly as you watch a video on the content. If you don't have a video to go with the content that you're learning, then go find one. Study tip number 3, you want to study in groups. So group study sessions are not for everybody. I do have a video with very clear, specific steps to how to make a group study session like really work, and I will leave that link in the description box. If you're a kinesthetic learner, study sessions work better for you because when you're working with others, there's more conversation, there's more activity, there's more movement, and those are the pieces of learning that will activate more parts of your brain versus if you're just sitting by yourself, like thinking about the material. Number 4, seek out new study locations. If you're a kinesthetic learner, you will not, and you know this, enjoy sitting at a desk for long periods of time. So once in a while, just find someplace new, right? Like even if you set up another room of your house for a study session, go to your local library. Heck, go to a library in the town, like 2 towns away from you that you probably have never even been to before. If you're a high school student and you live in a town or one of the surrounding towns has a public university, then get access to that library. College libraries are so motivating. Just whatever you do, you want to change up your study space once in a while because that adds novelty. And novelty is one of the 2 primary ingredients in motivation. The other one, if you're wondering, is urgency. And what's novelty, you ask? I feel like you would ask that. Newness, something that's new. Strategy number 5 is to keep your study sessions short. Now, nobody should be pulling all-nighters. That's a bunch of baloney, okay? But if you're a kinesthetic learner, the target number to shoot for is 45 minutes or less of a study session. Of course, you can stack study sessions back to back with a break in between. In fact, you should probably be doing that. But anything over 45 minutes, you're just gonna start entering the foggy zone. Strategy number 6 is to summarize your notes. Now, as part of your studying, you'll be reviewing your notes, but please remember, please know, okay, that reviewing is not studying. Reviewing is what, like looking over things? And what is looking over things? Just looking over things. Studying involves like doing something with the material, okay? So if you have your notes that you're reviewing, what you want to do is you want to summarize them. So every page or every chunk of information, depending on how dense your notes are, write a quick summary about them. If you can't summarize them, it means you don't know it. So that's a red flag too. If writing out a summary by hand annoys you, type it. Now this tip might sound a little weird because it doesn't involve like movement, but not all study tips for kinesthetic learners involves like jumping up and down. And if that's what you're finding like online, then that's nonsense. Doing something with the material or their movement can sometimes be mental, cognitive, not necessarily like molding something with Play-Doh. So the act of summarizing your material is doing something with the content, engaging in it. You're technically moving things around in your mind, and that is enough to satisfy the unique needs of a kinesthetic learner. Strategy 7, you want to seek extra examples and extra problem sets. Kinesthetic learners really benefit from multiple examples of what they're learning, as well as practicing on multiple problem sets. Because remember, you want to do the material as much as possible. So you could ask your teacher for additional work. You could go, I know that sounds weird, like why do I want additional work? Just like another set of problem sets, or if you have a worksheet or something online, you've already done it, erase your answers and do it again. You could also do the questions in the back of a textbook. For some reason, we always ignore those, but that again would involve doing something with material. You can find extra problem sets for like math or physics or something online. Heck, where do you think teachers get half their worksheets anyway? Like, so much of this stuff is online, and you can find it for yourself with a quick search. Strategy number 8 is to teach someone else the material. Now this is a study tip for all learner types, but listen carefully. If we can't explain something to someone else in a way that's clear and they understand it, then we do not understand it ourselves. Okay, I really need you to internalize this. So you know those moments when we're like studying something, or we're trying to explain something to someone and we're like, oh no, like I know what it is, it's just really hard to explain, right? But like I know what it is, I just can't like say it. If you can't explain it, you don't know it. Like, I hate to tell you that. And I know that's uncomfortable, but we don't want to run from that discomfort. That's like a red flag, but not like red in a bad. That's like a positive feedback that we need. If we go to articulate something and we can't, That just tells us what? That we don't know it. And then what do? We go and study it more. That's good positive feedback, and we don't want to run from it. So the way to know if you can explain it to someone is to actually make an effort to explain it to someone. And if we don't have someone around us, then you can try to explain it out loud. But what you cannot do is just think this stuff. You have to vocalize it. That is how this strategy works. So a study suggestion here would be to read a chunk of your notes and then go find somebody to explain it to, or again, verbalize it to yourself. Then go back and study another chunk of your notes. See if you can vocalize it and explain it to someone. If they don't get it, then you haven't articulated it clearly enough. So you know what the funny part is if you're really a kinesthetic learner, then you probably struggle to get through this entire video, in which case you are awesome. And I seriously value every single second of your time that you just gave me right now. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching.